In the beginning, there was no sound.
Broadcasting to the United States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
What's going on? How are you? I'm Rich Stevens. The House Democrats now focusing on the articles of impeachment. The federal court rules that the Trump attorney must comply with the House subpoena. Wind, rain, and lots of snow expected for much of the country this week. And that dog that chased down the ISIS leader visited the White House today. I'm Rich Stevens. Thanks for being here. Got my buddy Dom sitting by my side today for a little guest appearance. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Rich?
You trying to do impersonations right here at the top of the show?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm doing an impersonation of my other self.
Impersonation, okay. Well, let me tell you, the first thing I want to bring up is today's a big day in South Florida because the president is arriving with the first lady, and they're doing a welcome back event at the BB&T. And I am privy to some of the things that are going on there, and I want to tell you about it if you're headed down there sometime today, or maybe even now, because here's the first thing that I got to point out. For the last 48 hours, there's a bunch of people that got tents set up outside the BB&T right by the doors, ready to be the first ones in. That's how dedicated some of these Trumpsters are. They're there 48 hours before. And tonight, I know, Dom, you were talking about this before. Tonight, the temperatures outside are dipping into the 50s, so that's got to be pretty cold outside sleeping on a concrete floor.
Feels good to me.
You're sleeping on a concrete floor?
No, next to one.
So here's the deal. Officially, the doors are going to open at 3 p.m. You are strongly advised to, if you're going today, you should be right now in the car on the way there. And I realize it's early in the morning, but I'm telling you, if you want to get in, because there's no guarantee that you will get in. It's first come, first serve. So even if you got one of the tickets online, that doesn't guarantee you admittance into the BB&T Center. By the way, to park, $20, or you could go down the block at the Sawgrass Mills Mall, and there's no charge at all if you want to do that. There are no reserved spaces, and if you're attending and you get in, obviously, or it should be obvious to you, you're going to be screened by the United States Secret Service, which is no joke. And so I have a list of items that are prohibited that you want to make sure you don't have on your person before you walk into the area where the Secret Service is going to screen you. Food and drinks are going to be available inside for sale. Bathrooms, of course, will be available. The attire that you should wear is, of course, casual. But here's the interesting list that I got from my buddy at the Secret Service of prohibited items. And these are in alphabetical order. And there's a couple I have questions about. Are you ready, Dom?
I'm right here.
All right. So aerosols of any kind, alcoholic beverages, backpacks, bags, roller bags, suitcase bags. Who would bring a suitcase bag? And there's size restrictions on this stuff, too. 12 inches by 14 inches by 5 inches. You can't bring balloons. You can't bring balls, banners, signs, placards, chairs, coolers, drones, or other unmanned aircraft systems. I mean, that sounds really weird. Explosives of any kind, including fireworks. And, you know, the thing about this is, as I go through this list, you got to be with me on this, that some of these things you would think that the normal human being would realize that if the president of the United States is going to be in the building, that you shouldn't bring explosives. Wouldn't that go without saying?
What about underarm roll-on?
No, you
underarm
can't.
Deodorant.
Wait, I'll get on a list here. Glass, thermal, and metal containers, like thermoses, you can't bring any of those. Laser lights, laser pointers, mace, pepper spray. Can't bring any of this stuff. You can't bring noisemakers. You can't bring air horns, whistles, drums, bullhorns, etc. Who would bring drums to the BB&T Center?
A drummer.
You can't bring any kind of packages at all. You can't bring any poles. You can't bring any sticks. You can't bring any selfie sticks. You can't bring in any spray containers. This is one that I don't understand. You can't bring any structures. Is somebody going to bring a statue into the BB&T?
What about a mobile home?
It might fit under a structure. I don't know. You can't bring any supports for signs or placards. You can't bring any tripods. You can't bring an umbrella. And here's probably my favorite one on the list, which I wish, Don, maybe you could explain this to me. You can't bring any appliances like a toaster.
Well, what if you want toast and butter at the event?
Nobody brings a toaster into an event. It just doesn't make sense to me that the Secret Service actually had to put out this list saying no appliances, including toasters. And any other items that may pose a threat to the security of the event, as determined by the Secret Service, obviously they're not going to let in. So again, it's starting today. Actually, the doors open at 3. The president will probably come out 7 or 8 p.m. tonight, and then he'll be headed back to Mar-a-Lago for the long Thanksgiving Day weekend. So I want to make sure that you understand all of the rules and regulations, because it would suck if you go down there and you actually got a parking spot and you paid $20, and then you get up to the door and you find out that you have something on your person that they're not going to let in, because
So like a microwave won't do?
you can't bring anything, no appliances. So what you'll have to go back to your car and put it in your car, but then you lose your spot in line, and then you might lose your seat because of that. Because once they fill up at capacity, you're done. They close the doors. So that $20 that you gave to the Broward County people, they got your money, and that's it. And by the way, speaking of Thanksgiving, the weather is going to affect a lot of people. There's 2 storms moving across the country that could bring rain, snow, and wind to various regions. Now, the first storm is going to drop really heavy snow. I spoke to my buddy in Colorado last night, and he said they're expecting 6 to 12 inches in parts of the central and western U.S. today and into tomorrow. And also today, wind-blown snow will move from Colorado to Michigan. Blizzards could hit the northeastern Colorado area through Nebraska. And high winds will move east late Wednesday into Thanksgiving Day in parts of the Midwest and the Northeast. This is obviously a nightmare for people that are traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday. Rain and thunderstorms today from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast. California's going to get a lot of rain tomorrow and Thursday too. And here's the saddest part, and I told you about this yesterday. The high winds, which are expected in New York City as well, could in fact make it so that the balloons at the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade are not able to fly. So I guess they would have the parade with the high winds, which are even, if the winds are 20 miles an hour, they pick up even more because they're kind of like in a canyon. You're going through with the tall buildings on either side of you, headed down to 34th Street in front of Macy's. So there's been a time when they will not run the balloons, and it could be this Thanksgiving, which, I mean, isn't that what you watch the Thanksgiving Day parade for? And here's the thing, by the way, and I say this every year, and I know I piss off some people when I say this, but I'm going to say it again. The people that are singing, performing on the floats, not one of them is actually singing. They just have fake dummy microphones in front of themselves, and it's on a track. So just be aware that nobody's singing. Why? I don't know. Probably because it's too cold out and you can't sing. Your voice doesn't work properly, excuse me, when it's cold outside like that. And by the way, AAA says that the worst time to travel for Thanksgiving, any guesses, Dom?
Thanksgiving?
No, it's today.
Okay.
Today and tomorrow between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And AAA says they're projecting near-record travel volume on roads across the U.S. This year. And AAA says avoiding travel between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. today and tomorrow because that's when the roads are going to be the busiest. So again, let's go back to the BB&T Center. There's a highway that you have to take to get to the BB&T Center. So that could screw up your plans as well. So again, get there early. And if you plan on driving to Atlanta, Los Angeles, New York City, Boston, or Houston, your trip could take up to 3.5 times longer than usual. So you got to be, aware of all these kind of things. And make sure you got a full tank of gas, and you should put in your trunk. I learned this from living in Colorado for so many years, that you always want to have in your trunk not only emergency supplies, but a couple blankets. The space blankets work great. You fold them up, it's about the size of your phone, and some snack bars and such, because you could end up getting stuck for God knows how many hours. It happened to me once, so I know, and I was grateful that I learned this pretty early on when I lived in Denver. A federal judge ruled yesterday that former Trump White House counsel Don McGahn must comply with a House subpoena. Now, the ruling could mean that McGahn will have to testify at the impeachment hearings. I thought the hearings were over already. Now, in making his ruling, the U.S. District Judge Brown Jackson of Washington said there was no basis to claim that McGahn is absolutely immune from compelled congressional testimony. Now, some lawmakers believe that McGahn is the most important witness to answer questions about Trump's possibility of obstructing justice in special counsel Robert Mueller's probe of Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. It seems like we're taking steps backwards instead of taking steps forward. But it's going to be very interesting to see if McGahn actually sits down and actually testifies. And if he does, he's just going to take the fifth. But you see, what happens in the procedure in these hearings is he would actually have to take the fifth for every individual question. He can't just say, I'm taking the fifth, and then it blankets everything. So that could be very tedious. And if this is going to be on television, this will not be a television event that is going to be of any interest to anybody. By the way, speaking of Thanksgiving, there's several health agencies that are handing out the same advice before Thanksgiving. Please do not wash your turkey before you cook it. Don, when you make a chicken or a turkey, do you wash it first?
I never do.
Yeah, that's good. You don't want to do it because nutritionists say you can't wash off the bacteria with water, and rinsing out the turkey risks splashing its juices all over the sink, and then you get other things contaminated. And experts recommend opening the plastic wrap, draining any liquid into the sink before you throw the packaging out. And then they suggest patting the turkey dry with paper towels. And then, of course, washing your hands very thoroughly. And any utensils that you use at that time, you thoroughly want to rinse them with hot water and soap. Now, not the turkey, but the utensils. And according to the USDA's Food Safety Inspection Service, washing raw poultry before cooking is just not recommended because bacteria in the raw meat and juices can be spread to other foods, utensils, and surfaces, and you don't want to do that because you can get violently ill from that kind of bacteria. And there's a recent study. What?
So, Rich, a can of Lysol wouldn't help?
No. And listen, there's in the meantime, there's 3 million comedians out of work, so you don't have to try to be funny here, okay? There's a recent study. I love you, man. There's a recent study conducted by the USDA found that 60% of sinks are contaminated after handling raw turkey in the sink, meaning that if you choose to prepare it in the sink, who prepares a turkey in the sink? It's necessary to fully clean and sanitize the entire area before proceeding with other food prep work that you're going to do. So there you go. Are you cooking this year, Dom, or are you going out somewhere?
I think I'm going to wind up going out. I just don't want to mess with, all the cleanup and all that.
Are you a turkey guy? I mean, do you eat turkey on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, on Thanksgiving, that's about it. I really don't. It's not my favorite thing.
But why do you eat it on Thanksgiving if it's not your favorite thing?
I don't know. I just, because I'm grateful for having the opportunity to have turkey where, less fortunate people may not even have that.
So you don't feel guilty while you're munching on the turkey and other people can't have it? Is that what I just heard you say?
Pretty much.
So do you prefer the dark meat or the white meat?
Yeah, I like the white meat if I'm going to have turkey, yeah.
Yeah, you see, I'm a dark meat kind of guy because it's much more moist and it just tastes better. I would love to have, my ideal Thanksgiving would be a turkey leg and then some of the fixins. So
you're gonna get more cholesterol that way, you know that.
I don't have a problem. My cholesterol is fine. Conan, the hero dog who was injured while helping to get the ISIS leader, Baghdadi, was honored yesterday afternoon at the White House. It was a surprise ceremony hosted by the president, the vice president, and First Lady Melania Trump. The president called the Belgian Malinois. Is it Malinois or Malinois? It looks like a shepherd, but it's a much smarter dog, who is named after talk show host Conan O'Brien. He's a very special animal, the president said, who played a key part in the flawless attack on the ISIS leader. And then Trump went on to say, Conan came over from the Middle East, like he got on a plane and flew himself in first class. He should be in first class, but just arrived with some of the great people from the special forces that did it was a flawless attack, he said. And al-Baghdadi is gone, and we just gave Conan a medal and a plaque, which will hang in the White House. And while Trump was talking, Vice President Pence stood right next to the dog and kept petting his head, but it looked like the dog was going to bite his hand. Speaking of dogs, the president signed a bill yesterday that makes certain acts of animal cruelty now a federal felony. Now, if you're one of these people that don't like the president, you got to love this, because the Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture Act prohibits extreme acts of cruelty, which we all hear of way too often when they occur in interstate commerce or on federal property. Now, the legislation expands on a 2010 law that targeted videos depicting the crushing or torturing of animals, but that did not prohibit the actual cruelty in the video. So in this new law, the underlying acts of cruelty will be a federal crime, and now we just need to outlaw dogs in places of business and restaurants, and I think we'll be okay. Speaking of animals, here in Florida, the iguana population, it's getting out of hand and causing problems, and the iguanas have a habit of shorting out power lines, and their droppings can be a source of salmonella bacteria, which causes food poisoning in pets like your dogs and cats. And while the population is on the rise, the state has no plan to deal with it as of now. And that's so weird, because last year or last season, this is about the time of year when they come out, the state of Florida asked people to humanely kill as many as you could. So it's really weird, because they did originally allow homeowners to kill these beasts, these lizards, if they're on your property, but then they kind of softened that approach because of a backlash from animal rights groups. And by the way, if you go to South Miami, people actually catch these and they eat them. And the best part of the iguanas, they say, is that long-ass tail that's like 3 feet long. Would you try the iguana, Dom?
Well, something, now that you're talking about it, it seems if it's a problem, I think they ought to make that instead of the turkey being the Thanksgiving thing that we eat. Let's just all eat iguana, and we'll thin out the population.
Do you think you'd actually know the difference? I mean, seriously.
You know something? Everything tastes like chicken, so you tell me.
Not everything, but some things do. Speaking of chicken, if you were going to jump into the Super Bowl with a commercial, Fox Sports has sold out its inventory of Super Bowl commercials. Prices for a 30-second spot on the television's biggest annual event went for a record $5.6 million. Now, Fox said they finished selling all 77 national spots this past Friday. Most ads for the National Football League championship game tend to sell out around Christmas or even later into January. So this time, they sold out way early. And a single 30-second commercial for the game, which is on February 2nd, right here in Miami, cost $5.6 million. And they did discount to some people that bought more, but every ad sold for more than $5 million for 30 seconds, except for one company whose long-standing bulk order kept its pricing under that threshold. And using rough calculations, the total sales figure probably eclipsed $400 million. I mean, that's just incredible. And the Super Bowl, which I'm sure you know, is the most watched television event of the year in the United States, and the ad sales usually fluctuate based on the health of the United States economy and interest in the NFL. So both factors became tailwinds for Fox during the sales process, which is why it probably sold out sooner rather than later. And the league's regular season ratings are up, and U.S. stocks have been nearing all-time highs. So you put it all together, and that's what you got. Listen, we're talking about food a few minutes ago. To me, this is very exciting, and it might warrant a 3-hour drive from here to Disney. Dom, you're going to love this. The world's largest White Castle is being built right near Disney World in Orlando.
I'm there.
The fast food chain currently has no locations in Florida, but that's soon going to change. Construction is expected to begin at some point over the next 2 months. Opening date late 2020 or early 2021. So there you go. That's, the thing is, are they really going to be as good as the what do we call them? Not sliders, murder burgers. Are they going to be as good as the murder burgers from the original New York White Castles? That's going to be the big question. You know, when I lived in St. Louis, we had a place called Crystals, which was kind of like a ripoff of White Castle. It was the same thing. You go in, and it's like $2. You get a sack of 10 of these burgers. You eat them. And the reason they were called murder burgers, do you know why?
Too much bread?
No. Because within 30 minutes, you're in the bathroom. That's why they call them sliders, because they go in one way and out the other way. Speaking of sliders, Facebook and Twitter they have a huge personal data breach. Again, hundreds of thousands of users may have improperly accessed after they used their accounts to log into certain Android apps downloaded from the Google Play Store. This is why I love iPhones, because stuff like this never happens with the iPhones. So hundreds of Android users who accessed two popular apps via Facebook or Twitter have had their personal data improperly accessed. And the breach has affected those who access the Giant Square and Photofy apps. Now, it's, again, not believed that iOS users who use those same apps are affected in any way. Facebook says they've removed the apps from their platform for violating their platform policies, and they plan to notify users who have been affected. So, you know, you got to be careful, especially on Facebook, with these apps that, you know, are connected and they, take this quiz and take that quiz. Stay away from that stuff, because 9 out of 10 of them are not good, and they either infect you or just screw up your computer, or they take all your contacts, excuse me, and you don't know until it's too late. Unfortunately, some bad news. Human remains that were found in that wooded area in Alabama, in fact, are been identified as that missing 5-year-old girl from Jacksonville, Taylor Williams. Police say her Navy petty officer mom, who attempted suicide after being charged with child neglect, is still not cooperating. Are you kidding me? The sheriff's office in Jacksonville canceled the Amber Alert yesterday, and the Taylor Rose Williams missing person case is now a death investigation. You might recall that earlier this month, human remains were discovered in the Demopolis, Alabama, which is 500 miles away from where she went missing in Jacksonville. And the police have confirmed it is the 5-year-old, but haven't shared the cause of death yet. Now, the child's mother, Brianna Williams, was hospitalized around the same time cops prepared to arrest her for child neglect and giving false information. The 27-year-old naval petty officer was on life support after she appeared to overdose on an undisclosed ingested substance, and she's still not cooperating. They said that they were preparing to tell her the remains were identified as Taylor, and the remains were found 6 days after this schmuck mom reported the kid missing. On a much brighter note, what are you doing over there?
I'm just stopping my clock from making noise.
Yeah, you're making a lot of noise over there. Black Friday still a few days away, but for Amazon, the shopping extravaganza is already underway as the mega retailers already released hundreds of discounts for Deals Week. And I got to tell you, I've been really impressed by some of the deals on fashion, although Amazon may not typically be the place that you go for clothes and accessories, but discounts on brands like Calvin Klein, Herschel, Oakley, and Tommy Hilfiger is definitely worth taking a look on what they have to offer there. And by the way, this weekend, high-tech cameras, which are designed to catch motorists who use their phone behind the wheel, are going to go live. High-tech cameras are going to capture clear images of drivers using their cell phones, and these new cameras will automatically find drivers caught using their phones. Now, cameras will go live this Saturday. Good thing not here. It's in New South Wales and some other unknown locations. On December 4th, this is like a futuristic story coming true. There's a Japanese cosmetic company called Kao Corporation, K-A-O. They're going to be selling a futuristic new beauty product that will give customers literally a second skin. It's called EST, E-S-T, and the product will be available as a liquid spray that forms into an artificial skin when it makes contact with your human skin. And the company says its EST products will help cover up skin blemishes, moles, scars, and also help moisturize your skin. So it's an artificial skin in a thin layer of small liquid fibers that adhere to a thin membrane of around 1/1000th of a millimeter. And the fibers form a thin bond on the edges of the area that they're sprayed on, which helps the membrane blend in with a person's natural skin. So the fiber bonds retain a degree of skin-like elasticity that allow them to stretch across a wide range of shapes and spaces. And they're loose enough to allow water vapor to pass through, which the company says will keep the skin beneath the fake skin moist. Now, the product will initially be limited to Japan, where it's going to be available as a diffuser and a potion combination, which together will retail in American dollars $532 or 58,000 yen. But refills for the diffuser will be available for around $73 or 8,000 yen. And I don't know about you, but I would definitely try something like that out, just because, there'd still be people would still say, well, you're a guy. I remember the first time that I ever had makeup put on was for a photo shoot when I was working for ABC in New York. And the makeup artist came in. She spent about an hour doing my makeup before this photo shoot. And this is when I was doing a soap opera. And I could not believe when I looked in the mirror what I looked like. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, these pictures are going to come out great. I thought that they usually retouch pictures. Well, back then in the 80s, they didn't retouch the pictures. They put the makeup on, which made you look flawless. And some of those pictures were just incredible. But here's the thing. I actually didn't want him to take the makeup off after the photo shoot. I drove home with the makeup on, so my family was able to see how good I looked with this makeup on. So some people might say that I was a little bit of a, whatever, and I didn't have a problem with it. Just saying. All right, listen, I think I'm taking the rest of the week off, so have a great, safe Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, unless you're dumb, and I hope to talk to you again just in a few days. Probably come back on a Monday here on the Rich Stevens Show. You want to get in touch, richstevenshow.com. Click on the contact tab, and you can send me a message. And by the way, thank you all for the kind text messages and Facebook posts about all the weight I'm losing. I'm down 32.2 pounds now. I'm very excited about that. And I've been weighing myself on Monday. So Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday. Hopefully the number's more than 32. But actually, I got to tell you, if I'm the same weight on Monday, I'll be happy with that. In other words, as long as I don't gain, I'll be okay. But something tells me I'm going to lose even more by Monday. And if you want to learn about the weight loss, the plan that I'm doing, it's on the website. Just click on the tab that says, I think it says lose weight, richstevenshow.com. Dom, any final words?
I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving out there.
Can you do a turkey impersonation?
Well, then I would have to do you.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Again, 3 million comedians out of work. You don't need to try to be funny. Have a great holiday and be safe. Thanks for being here, Dom.
Oh, sure, no problem.